Here we go. We got Dre and Rick, a public announcement.
What's
Welcome to
happening?
Vlad TV.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Finally, yes, sir.
Happy to
Finally,
be here,
hey,
man. Happy to be here.
Big fan. You know, that first album, Born to the 90s, was like a soundtrack for me. It was just
God bless you.
you
Thank
guys
you.
were definitely running shit in hip hop. I'm sorry. Well, in hip hop and R&B. You know, I guess that was like a new jack swing kind of thing that was happening back then.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, thank you. That's awfully kind of you to say.
No doubt, man. No doubt. So, was Public Announcement already a group before you guys linked up with R. Kelly?
Yes.
Okay. So how did that group form?
Take it, Dre.
Well, you know, we were doing talent shows around Chicago, and it had got to a point where, you know, they didn't want to let us get into talent shows anymore. So at that point, you know, it was a place called the Cotton Club. And this is where Bernie Mac was hosting. I even think Godfrey was actually doing his comedy there at around the same time.
Yeah.
And so we saw Rob there, and this was right after he had won Big Break. Is it Big Break?
Yeah, Natalie Cole's Big
Yeah,
Break.
Natalie Cole's Big Break. And he was with another group called MGM. And they broke up at that point. And he needed a group. Barry Hankerson had just started managing him and had took him to Jive, but they wanted him to come out with a group. So he saw us, we were dressed, ready to go, you know what I'm saying? And he was like, "You guys sing and dance?" We was like, "Yeah." So we went in the bathroom, you know what I'm saying, and sung and danced. You know, all kind of crazy.
Don't.
It was real crazy in the bathroom, but you know. So after that, then he was like, "Meet me at Presidential Towers where he lived at, and wear all black." And at that time, we were pretty young, so we just was, you know, really just excited about, because he was like the next to blow. So it was like, okay, yeah, let's go. So we went and we rehearsed to music and did routines and all of that. And probably not long after that, maybe a month or two, we were doing sold out shows overseas. So.
Okay, and you guys had already recorded the Born to the 90s album by that point?
No, at that point, the album was pretty much done. So all the vocals were pretty much done. We might have done a little something, but for the most part, we just sung in the live shows because he had already basically finished it. He was like, really, Jive was ready to put him out. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So how involved were you guys in that first album, Born to the 90s?
Hardly any. Hardly any.
He was already scheduled to be a solo artist. But from what I understand, they didn't want to release him as a solo artist just yet because at that point, you had all these groups out. So whether it was Blackstreet, whether it was New Edition, you know, you had a bunch of groups. And for him to come out as a solo artist, I think they might have thought that might not have been a good look. So they decided to say, okay, let's release him as a group. And that's when we met and he saw that we did what we could do. And he said, meet me here. And so we did.
Okay. And when you guys first started seeing R. Kelly perform, was it just obvious in terms of talent level and so forth?
To a certain degree, you know, because in terms of talent, I think we were pretty close to like where he was at talent-wise, but he was getting the big breaks. I mean, he found himself in situations. You know what I mean? So, you know, but very talented. I'm not trying to take that away. Very talented.
No, absolutely. I mean, you could just tell by the body of work that went on afterwards in terms of the overall talent level.
Exactly, man.
So you guys link up with R. Kelly, and it's now R. Kelly and Public Announcement, and you guys are starting to do all these shows. And do the shows start getting pretty big?
Actually, the first show we did, we performed 2 weeks before the album was released here in the States. We went to Europe. So we were over there 2 weeks doing nothing but shows. And every show over there was sold out. And when I say sold out, I mean like not even standing room. It's nothing that I don't think we've ever experienced. And it was so nice. The crowd was so loud that we couldn't hear the mix in the monitors, you know. And I mean, and we kept telling them, turn it up, turn it up, turn it up. They were screaming so loud we couldn't hear the mix in the monitors, and there were people literally fainting, passing out, being carried across the stage. That was 2 weeks of nothing but that almost every single night. And by the time we came here, the music was out. It was 2 weeks later. And I know for me personally, I had no idea what it had done here, if it was going well, if it was going horrible, but overseas, it was a wrap.
Okay. And at this point, in the early stages, how are you guys getting along with R. Kelly? Like, what are your relationships with him like?
At that stage, it was great. No problems whatsoever. I mean, we're doing shows, we're figuring things out. It got to the point where we were on shows, switching routines and anything we wanted to do on prompt. Just, hey, turn around, give me this, and this. All right, got it. And we could switch it up. We were gelling, everything was fine. In the early, I would say, 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
No problems whatsoever. It was fun.
It did start to change, though.
Okay. And we'll go ahead and get to that. So you guys are on tour with R. Kelly, and you guys have, I guess, various tour buses?
At that point, no.
Just one tour bus?
One. Yeah.
Okay. And I guess Drea was one of the backup dancers.
Right. A little further down the line. Yeah.
Further down the line.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so I'm just trying to get the chronology here in place. So initially she was not a backup dancer.
Well, no, she came in as a background dancer, but it was just a little later. You know what I'm saying? Than the very beginning. She didn't start out with us, put it that way.
Okay.
She didn't kind of come along until like 12 Play album.
Okay. So did Aaliyah come around first?
Yes.
Okay. So you guys are on tour with R. Kelly and everything's blowing up. Mm-hmm. You guys are doing huge shows, things are crazy and so forth. Now, before Aaliyah came around, obviously you got a bunch of young men who are tasting fame for the first time. And you got a bunch of women who are going crazy over R&B.
Right.
It's primarily a female art form in terms of like the audience.
Right.
What are some of the crazier things that are happening female-wise up to that point?
I'll let you take that.
Well, for me, I can't speak on them. It got so bad. I was in a drought. It was one of those things where everybody was around, but they were like, we were so busy. It was hard to actually reach out to women and say, hey, come meet me in my hotel room. Hey, do this, that, because everything was rush, go, go, go. So if you really wanted that, you actually had to go, hey, make sure you give her my number. And you had to pass your number to somebody else on the team to get it to her. Because other than that, it was like you were royalty. Everything was rushed. And I mean, literally, it was people putting their hands on you, moving you from one place to another everywhere you went. So for me, I was sitting there dry going, what am I going to do? Now, the star over here, I can tell you about his business because it's right here in front of him. You know that thing about Cinderella? It's the male version. It's the male version of Cinderella. Okay. Always had to stay back and clean this and do this and that. Mm-hmm. I was Cinderella. This guy. When I say star,
I mean, Vlad, imagine. I know you heard stories of people on tour all the time. So imagine, an above average artist that is on tour above average. We were like probably 10 times that. So it was, crazy everywhere we went. It was crazy.
No, he was asking for specifics. So you need to say something that happened. Right. Just go into that. Thought I'd help you out. Sorry.
I mean, girls, okay. I got a good story for you then. Even when we first started out and we were doing club dates, and we would be like, the bus would stay at the hotel and we'd be in like a van. And after the show, it looked like a funeral going back to the hotel. Nothing but cars. No, it did.
I know.
Lying. It looked like a funeral. And that's
Long
where,
procession.
it would go crazy. I mean, at that point.
Yeah. Somehow, some way, somebody gave out the number or the information to where we were staying, and it was on. So yeah, I do remember that. That was funny.
There's a video, and let me know because I can't quite figure out the time frame of it. But it's R. Kelly performing in a theater type venue, and I'm not sure if it's you guys or someone else holding up a sign that says 18 and over.
Oh no, you know it's him. You know it was him. It was him holding the sign up. Yeah. Oh yeah, you know who it was. It was him. As a matter of fact, before you actually ask your question, I remember us specifically getting those uniforms because it's funny. We got those uniforms minutes before we actually hit the stage. They didn't have wardrobe for us. Guess who had those same uniforms on before us? High five.
Okay.
Not kidding. We put them on and went out there and performed. Done.
Wasn't High Five a kids group?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys put on High Five's uniforms, and R. Kelly's performing, and you're holding up a sign that says 18 and over.
That would be Dre. That would be Dre. Yes,
and,
this guy.
Right.
And see, let me explain that, Vlad, because
make it good.
He was putting it in our brains as if, he was older, of course, and the girls had to be 18 and over. So at that time, it felt right to me. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, 18 and over, that's legal. Everything is good. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, that was me holding the sign. As crazy as that sounds. But it's true.
You fast forward to 2019 and it looks pretty crazy.
Right, it looks crazy now. Yeah, it looks crazy. It looks insane.
Because 18 and over is kind of assumed by adult males, but no one actually had a sign that said 18 and over. That was unique before and after.
Right.
That was a staple saying this is what it is. It was pre nonsense. It was letting you know that this is what it has to be. And Big Guy had the chance to hold a sign. As a matter of fact, I think we need to get another sign so you can hold that one in the show we do now.
I mean, when you saw that interview years later with Teray, when he asked R. Kelly, "Are you still going to see teenagers?" And he said, "Define teenagers."
Right.
And here you are holding up the 18 and over. You're holding up the teenage sign, essentially.
And what's crazy is I think I held that sign on Jay Leno's show too back there, the same sign.
Okay.
This is good.
So at that point, were underage girls trying to get backstage and were trying to get in the mix and so forth?
I would say, of course, there were young girls out there, but at the end of the day, I mean, it was like at the shows, nothing strange was happening. You know what I'm saying? I never really seen no underage girls get backstage. There were always girls, let's be clear. But underage girls, like what the talk is now, I never seen that.
Okay. And were there any signs that R. Kelly was into that at all?
No, there were signs that he liked them young. You know what I'm saying? They looked a tad young a lot. You know what I'm saying? But nothing to the point that made me raise an eyebrow like, what is he doing? You know what I'm saying? Nothing to that degree.
And one of the things that kind of came out later was that R. Kelly couldn't read.
True. That's true.
You guys knew that?
Yeah. Because, he had to be...
Yeah, we was having problems.
He had to be taught how to write She's Got That Vibe. He couldn't spell it. You know what I'm saying? So that was all real.
We had limitations on what we could and couldn't write when we were all sitting signing. So
that was kind of his thing to write. We couldn't write She's Got That Vibe because he learned how to write that, and that was his thing to write.
He didn't really ask you that. You could have held off, but okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Was that a little weird, just dealing with a grown man who couldn't read and write?
Extremely. It was extremely weird. Here's the thing. When you have the camaraderie that we had, which was a majority of the time just playful, and then, there's people that are working for him, management, assistant managers, road managers, and then when you get that, it went from the four of us sitting in a room talking, working out things, to management saying, when he's left the room, or it's just the three of us, or they'll come to our room or whatever it is, I need you to not do this, not do this, and not do this. And it's like, dude didn't say that. Well, it doesn't matter what he said. I'm telling you this is what needs to happen. So that was the part that actually was weird. In the beginning, it was, we were talking about whatever it was and we talk it out, and, it wouldn't be a knockdown argument, but it came to the point where management was telling us, they were dictating, do this, don't do that. Do this, don't do that. So that part, that was aggravating because it went from being nice to now like a dictatorship, this, don't do it, and walk away.
So at what point did Aaliyah start coming around?
Well, Barry Hankerson brung her around and, and introduced her as she's an artist, this, that, and the third. And, and Rob was going to produce her. So at that point, they started to work on the album. So, you would see her in the studio every now and again, you know what I'm saying? But for the most part, when it came to any females or anything like that, we really could not be involved in that for real. So you would see her passing by, but to sit and hang out and do that, no, that wouldn't happen.
Okay. And when you first, saw Aaliyah and heard her sing and stuff like that, did you automatically know, like, okay, this is going to be a big star right here? Or was it still kind of, rough back then, in the makings?
It was still kind of rough to me because I looked at it almost like, because I think I watched her do vocals one time and, and she sung so soft. So he would have her sitting and she would be so close to the popper stopper and she would almost be whispering. So I wasn't sure if that was going to work. You know what I'm saying? But it worked. You know what I'm saying? So couldn't have known that it was going to go over the way that it did. It was impossible until you started to hear the records.
And you guys knew that she was 14 at the time?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
But I remember there was a video that I saw of R. Kelly in the studio. I think it was like MTV or something. And he's kind of showing the cameraman around. He goes, oh, and this is my new artist, Aaliyah. She's 14 years old. Mm-hmm. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So
I do.
So he knew her actual age at the time and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So R. Kelly's producing Aaliyah. Did you guys know that there was any sexual relationship, improper relationship, anything going on between R. Kelly and Aaliyah?
I didn't know. And that was because I treated it like a job. I came, went to studio, C, D, whatever it was we were supposed to be in, worked on the stuff that we needed to work on, and then I'd go home. So I remember seeing her once, but other than that, I actually don't remember seeing her. So I was in and out.
And that's why I think it's hard for people to understand because they thinking like, well, you guys are there. You never seen nothing. But if you know him, you're not going to see nothing. If you know who he is. Because he keeps everything under control. Everybody that's there, I don't care what capacity you work in, you're only going to do what he wants you to do. And you're only going to be involved in things that you need to be involved in.
So there was a lot of separation. We were always separated from everybody else because we'd be in the studio working on whatever it is that we were working on. And next 2 studios down, it could be somebody else working on an album. It could be, but all under his camp. But it wasn't, oh, let me go over here and say hi to Changing Faces. Oh, let me go over here and say hi to, no, it wasn't that. We go in there, do the job, and then we leave.
Okay. Now, there was a third member of the group, Earl Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from what I understand...
No, you dare not speak his name.
No, don't do that.
No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
No, let him roll, man.
Now, from what I understand, Earl Robinson did see some stuff between R. Kelly and Aaliyah.
Yeah, he say he did.
Okay.
That's what he said. He told me that.
So what did Earl tell you exactly?
He said he saw Rob and Aaliyah on the back of the bus.
Having sex?
Yeah.
And R. Kelly was what, 24 at the time?
Somewhere in that area, maybe 25, 26.
Okay. How did you react when you were told that a 26-year-old is having sex with a 14-year-old?
I told Earl, my exact words was, "Stop it. Stop it. You didn't see that. Stop it." And he swore he seen it. But my thing was, I didn't know to believe it because at that point, Earl's relationship with Rob wasn't that great. So I'm looking at it like, maybe you're on some craziness. You know what I'm saying? So I really didn't look at it no type of way at that stage.
Okay. And did you hear the story also from Earl?
No, Dre and Earl were buddies at that point, and I actually started pulling myself away. I was going through things with the management that I didn't agree with, so I started pulling myself away. I treated it like a job. I came, did my job, and I left. Even when we were touring, I did the exact same thing. I came, I did my job, and I left. And it was because I wasn't happy. I started not being happy with the way things were being ran for us as a group, and even more so for me personally. So I wasn't privy to it.
So did Earl leave the group because of that Aaliyah situation?
Yes. That's exactly why he left. Probably wasn't even a day or two after he told me that he was gone.
Okay, so now, and you guys were together before R. Kelly, right?
Right.
So here's your homie who you guys came up with,
Right.
is leaving the group over some crazy shit.
Right, basically. But you know how I had to look at it though, Vlad? I had to say, okay, what if I worked at Walmart and one of my friends that worked there too, he doesn't like what's going on there and he decides to leave. What does that do for me and my family and me living? I can't leave off that. See what I'm saying? Especially when I know the dynamic of the relationship that you guys have. I don't even know if you're telling the truth or not. So I had to stay there. And Rob told me, he asked me, he said, "Where's Earl?" I said, "He left." He said, "Why did he leave?" I said, "Well, he said he saw you and Aaliyah on the back of the bus." And he said, "Well, what that got to do with his check?" And I said, "Well, I guess nothing." And he said, "Well, since he left, I'm going to pay you what he got plus what I'm paying you. Now, would you leave?"
Well, first of all, before I answer that question,
It's a one-sided interview.
what you're telling me right now is that R. Kelly didn't even deny it.
I'm telling you exactly what he told me.
Right. He didn't say that's bullshit, he's a liar. He said, and?
Right. Like, what does that have to do with him?
Okay. Me personally, I would not work for someone who's a child molester, but that's just me.
Right. I feel you. But I didn't know that.
Especially if the child molester didn't even deny it. Now, if there's a little bit of fuzziness going on, like this dude's probably lying, then I'd have to think about it. But if my boss was a child molester, I'd be out.
Right.
Me personally. But I'm not going to judge anyone in their position. You guys are, have to feed your own families and stuff like that. It is what it is. Well, at what point R. Kelly actually got married to Aaliyah?
Now, around that time, I wasn't there. Because of the way things were going and, and just a certain way he was, I would leave off and on throughout everything. I've left quite a few times, went back, left quite a few times, went back. So during the time where he actually allegedly married her, I wasn't there. That's when the road manager guy was around, you know what I'm saying? And that was them, you know what I mean? So I don't know too much about that.
Well, R. Kelly's lawyer claimed that at the time of the marriage, Aaliyah had, lied about her age and said 18. And he said that R. Kelly didn't know that she wasn't 18. But like I said before, there's a video where R. Kelly's introducing her as a 14-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
So from your point of view, there was absolutely no gray area in terms of R. Kelly knowing that she was 14, 15 years old.
Absolutely.
Okay. The whole assassination attempt thing with you, Rick, did that happen before or after this whole Aaliyah thing?
I believe it was afterwards.
After. Okay.
Yeah.
So this whole Aaliyah thing is happening. And then after the whole marriage thing came out, everyone started to talk about it. It was like it became just popular culture. How were you guys dealing with, people accusing R. Kelly of being, a pedophile and stuff like that, when it got out?
I came and went like it was a job. I was unhappy. I didn't do a lot of investigating or a lot of gossiping. And I thank God for that. I heard about a couple things, and I actually didn't hear about the marriage thing until years later when I was like gone. But the allegations as far as being with young girls, I'd heard of that, and I felt embarrassed because guilt by association. And my worry was just that. So, with having the accolades of being in the group and things of that nature, even when I went out and about and did whatever it is I was doing, I was very reluctant to say, any of my dealings with, people would introduce me. Oh, this is Rick from R. Kelly Public Announcement. And I started warning people in advance, please don't. I don't want the questions. I don't want this, that, and the other. So I was embarrassed.
Okay. At what point did Aaliyah actually separate herself? Was it after the whole marriage thing?
Yeah, it was after the marriage got annulled, and then after that, she was gone.
Okay. I remember during the time, the rumor that was in the streets was that the reason why he got married to her was because he had gotten her pregnant and he was trying to avoid, a statutory rape charge. And if they were married, then that would have alleviated him from that situation. Did you know anything about that?
I just heard Demetrius Smith in a video lately say that. So I never knew that.
Yeah.
I never heard that until just now. So, wow.
The streets have a way of kind of creating stories and growing them and so forth. That's why I want to ask you guys.
Yeah.
As someone that was actually part of the situation, close to the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Aaliyah leaves, but the R. Kelly train is still going. Like R. Kelly's continuing to just blow up.
Yeah.
So the next album was 12 Play?
Yep.
Okay. And 12 Play was just R. Kelly. It wasn't R. Kelly in Public Announcement.
Right.
So was there sort of like a breakup between R. Kelly and Public Announcement, or were you guys still involved, but just not under the moniker of 12,
No, that was a breakup.
Of Public Announcement?
No, it was a breakup. I'm going to put it out there, partially, but it's up to him to say anything about it because it's his story. But Dre and Earl produced music before us coming to R. Kelly. And then once we were with him, they still produced music when we came back home. He'd go in the studio, do what he was doing. They go in the studio, do what they were doing. And I know of one song in particular that they did that I thought was great, but I was like, dude, leave that for us. We'll do it this way. Don't go over there and do that. But God has a way of showing you what you can do and just simply what you should not do. And on the last video shoot that we did, which was the first single, 12 Play. I'm sorry, no, it was Sex Me. The song was Sex Me. That was the first song off the second album. We decided to go do the video shoot and then leave. By this time, I had a little bit more knowledge about why we were leaving. But for me, with management and Rob, I was at that point, all the bad stuff that I could go through, I'd gone through, and I wasn't callous, but I wasn't bitter. I wasn't angry. I could handle what they were throwing at me. I was good at that point. But when they said that this was what we wanted to do, we're gonna do this last song, we're gonna do the video, and then we're gone. We're done. We'll do our own thing. We'll produce ourselves. We'll do what we need to do. And I came with them, so I left with them. And at that point, we did the video shoot, daps and hugs to everybody, peace out, and we never went back. No phone call. They made phone calls. Nobody answered. We all agreed that we would not answer any phone calls, not voicemail, nothing. We wouldn't do anything. And that's what we did. So we left that day and never went back.
Okay, because you guys were not like officially signed to like Jive Records, right?
Nothing.
It was more of like a handshake deal between you and R. Kelly?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As
We know how
Dre
those
says.
go. We
as
know
Dre
how these handshake deals go.
And it was really, it was an agreement that said, hey, you come with me, work this out with me, help me promote my album and do what we're doing as a group, and then I'll produce you guys. And we said, okay. You know, it was that simple. It wasn't like, well, we need to sign something or let's do it. No, we trusted him. So it was like, okay, cool, no problem. You know, and the momentum of what we were doing was so, it wasn't unexpected, but it came a lot sooner because before we started performing with him, we were already out doing shows. We were already out grinding, making a name for ourselves. So when that turn of events happened and we were able to really start to see a difference. I mean, we had been performing and winning talent shows, and then all we could do was be judges or special guests. We had reached that plateau, but now this was a different level of, is it really possible? Can we actually go somewhere and be on television and fulfill what we were doing? And that's what was what presented to us. So it was like, okay, yeah, let's go. And we got on that train and just, it went full steam ahead a whole lot faster.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the track listing of 12 Play right now. And on the song Bump and Grind, which I guess was the biggest song on the album,
Mm-hmm.
you know, one of the lines is, so show me some ID before I get knee deep. Here we go again with the 18 and over sign. Right. Once again, like R. Kelly wasn't even trying to hide that part. It was right there, like front page.
Yeah.
Once again.
You know what? Yeah. You know what? Now that you mention that, I don't look at that. I don't look at it that way. I look at it as, since the beginning, he was always cutting edge. He was always saying what couldn't be said, what shouldn't be said. He was saying it. He was singing it. He was putting it out there, and he was doing it in such a slick way that it was that edge that nobody dared touch, and he did. So I don't look at it like he was trying to get away with it. I think he was being street and just saying it like it is.
After the whole Aaliyah thing, the whole underage rumors, I guess R. Kelly started getting a lot of death threats and so forth, right?
I only know about one, but okay.
Okay. and there was a situation where I guess you were used as a decoy or something of that sort?
Yeah, let's go with that.
So what exactly happened?
I remember specifically it was the BET Awards. I think we've only did it once, right?
I think so.
All right. So the BET Awards, we were flown out to LA, and I was in my hotel room. I got a knock on the door. I answered it. Security. Hey, we need to go over to dress rehearsal. Like, all right, cool. I'm going to go get a couple of things. And it was like, no, put this on. So I figured, okay, well, it's a uniform. Let's go. So I figured it was a dress rehearsal, so I put it on. And as we're walking down the hallway, one of the guys said, can you put the hood on? I'm like, oh, sure. Now, at that point, I'm thinking, oh, paparazzi, bunch of chicks. It's going to be hot. Yeah, mysterious. And we went through a really beautiful atrium. It was outdoors. And I'm talking shrubbery, leaves, everything. It was beautiful. And we were walking through like this maze. But all of the shrubbery was like, knee high. So we were walking through it, and it was just, when I say beautiful, it was gorgeous. I've got the hood on. I tilt my head down because I'm doing the star thing, and we get inside the building, and we go to our green room. They walk me in. I look in, it's nobody in there. I'm like, where's everybody at? They're like, oh, they're coming. I'm like, okay. So at that point, I take the hood off, and they come maybe 10 minutes or so. They come in, joking and talking, laughing. Dre says to me, where you been? Like, I've been here waiting on you. Where you been? He was like, oh, we was over doing this, and this. And I'm like, all right, okay, cool. And we did the show, and we continued to tour. And I want to say maybe about a week or two later, the head of security, he pulled me to the side. You know, there was a bunch of hoopla going on and people having a good time. And he pulled me to the side and he said, look, next time I tell you to come with me and wear this, don't do it. I'm like, why? Did I do something wrong? He was like, nah. He was like, just so you know that somebody sent a letter wanting to hurt dude. They was talking about shooting him because of these allegations. And I'm like, oh, okay. Wow. After he said that, of course I looked at the situation differently from then on, but I mean, he said, don't, if we tell you to put this on, refuse it. You can't get fired. You'll be cool, but just don't. Because somebody tried to, send a letter and said that they were going to hurt him because this, that, and the other. And I was like, oh, okay.
So basically, you could have gotten shot or killed or whatever else in that particular situation.
Yeah.
And R. Kelly sent you out first with a hood,
Whether it was
hoping it would happen to you instead of him.
Whether it was him or management, only God knows. But I just thank God that he's been covering me and it didn't happen. But I was oblivious. I had no idea, and I trusted. I trusted the system. And I can only assume that Earl Dre didn't know. But when they came in, it was like, oh, it was like nothing ever happened. And then it wasn't until recently that I actually said anything about it because they didn't even know. I never said anything to anyone.
Gotcha. So at one point, Drea became R. Kelly's backup dancer.
I think it was around, I definitely know it was around the 12 Play album, I believe.
Okay.
And he had some sort of audition, which we never were at. So we never saw the audition, none of that. I'm just basically hearing from Drea saying that she had went to an audition because I didn't know how she got there, actually. So, and then she ended up dancing, and he had like 3 other dancers as well. And she was rehearsing and, getting ready for the tours.
Okay. I mean, but the 12 Play time, are you guys still in the group with R. Kelly, or are you guys gone by this point?
No, they were both gone. I was still pretty much there. Like, I left for a while, and we got a deal with Atlantic Big Beat, and we were working on our album in New York. We did that. We were signed to like an independent that had that deal with Atlantic Big Beat. So because of whatever was going on with the independent, they shelved the project. So we came back to Chicago, started doing a few shows here and there, promoting, and then it kind of just dried out. So at that point, I'm looking at everybody. I'm like, hey, man, we need to get some money from somewhere. And I was like, I'm going to call dude. You know what I'm saying? And go back on tour, do something. So I end up going back. And when I got back, she was one of the dancers, and there were 3 other dancers.
Okay. And I guess her and the other dancers, they would all sleep with R. Kelly in the back of the bus together?
Well, basically, I mean, because it was, I'm sure you've seen a tour bus. Everybody who does music seen a tour bus. There's a back room, and then there's a bunch of bunks. Mm-hmm. So we had bunks. And he stayed on the back room, and all the girls stayed with him.
Okay. But at one point, Drea stayed in the back room, and the other girls had to go in the bunks.
Yeah, it happened like later. They all stayed on there for a while, throughout whatever particular tour that was. And then one day, it just changed. And then the girls were in the bunks, and it was just him and her on the back of the bus. And basically, Don't nobody look at her. Don't do nothing. Don't talk to her. Nothing. And it was over.
Okay, and they eventually got married and had 3 kids.
Right.
When Dre talks about all the abuse claims and stuff like that, did you see any of that?
Talks about all the what?
All the abuse claims?
Never saw abuse, but you knew, if you were there, anybody that's there knows that he controls everything. So if she came into the studio was in the basement of his house. He come to the studio or whatever the case may be, and everybody would know she's coming, like she's gonna walk through, and we would look in the ceiling. Everybody, and nobody would speak. Nothing, not a word. Wouldn't utter not one word, and that would be it. So that's the most you seen any of their personal, just by her just walking through. You never really was around to see it, how they communicated, none of that. You would see her in passing.
Now, at one point, Sparkle came around.
Mm-hmm. Well, she didn't just come around. And that's the problem I got with Sparkle, you know what I'm saying, particularly.
Okay.
Because me and Earl worked on her demo. Got it. It was hot. And Earl says to me, he says, hey, take this to Kales. I'm like, not a good idea. I said, it's not a good idea. And he was like, yes, it is. I'm married to her. It's good. So I said, okay. So I took the demo down there. He listened to it. He said, oh, man, it's hot. Yeah. But I'm going to have to do this myself. He said, and I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm going to have to produce this all myself and write it. He said, y'all did some good work, but I'm going to do this on my own. So he said, I'll do this, but, it's going to have to be no Earl, no nothing. She going to have to come down here. If she want her album done, she going to have to sleep on this studio couch for 30 days, and that's the only way I'm doing it. So I go back and I tell her. And he doesn't believe me. He like, no, it's going to be good. I say, Earl, she's never coming back. He said, yes, she is. It's good. So Rob, I'm at the studio one day. Rob say, call up Steph and see can she come down and do some vocals. And this was around the time she was doing vocals on Aaliyah's album. See what I'm saying? So it wasn't even about her album. She was just coming to do background vocals. So she came and did that, and shortly after that, it was no more her and Earl. It was a wrap.
So you guys are in a group with Earl. Earl's wife goes and starts working with R. Kelly, and never goes back to Earl again.
Right. Now let me ask you this, Vlad. I mean, think about it. Just like you just told me, you said Earl told you that he saw Aaliyah on the back of the bus, right? Mm-hmm. But yet he sent his wife down there too.
Oh, that came afterwards?
Yeah.
Oh.
So how was I supposed to look at it? Now look at it like that. Because you know this guy, but you still gonna send your wife down here. Don't sound right. Sounds a little strange.
Earl saw R. Kelly having sex with Aaliyah. He quits the group and then sends his wife to go work with R. Kelly afterwards.
There you
go. I can see where the doubt and so forth is coming in.
Exactly.
And I just want to state for the record, my bunk was the middle bunk, and I kept that the entire time I was there. That's it.
Okay. Well, Dre, you said if you know R. Kelly, if he's producing any female, 9 times out of 10, he's having sex with them.
Yeah. Yeah. He told me that.
Oh, R. Kelly told you that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So did R. Kelly tell you that he was... Did R. Kelly tell you that he was having sex with Sparkle?
No. But, I mean, no, he never said that. I'll say that.
Okay. But Earl felt that he was having sex with Sparkle.
Right.
Okay. Now, Sparkle has a niece.
Mm-hmm.
And although it wasn't proven in court, she claims that her niece was the girl in the R. Kelly sex tape.
Right.
Did you know R. Kelly's niece? I'm sorry. Did you know Sparkle's niece at all?
I seen her around.
Okay. When you say around Sparkle or around R. Kelly or both?
I mean, kind of around we'll put it this way. The niece used to be with his kids in the house with Drea. And this is when she couldn't have been, she was really, really young at you know what I'm saying, at this point. So you're not putting it together because she's running with the kids and playing and this, that, and the other. And that's kind of, you know, it wasn't anything to look at strange. It was just like, oh, okay. Y'all godparents to Sparkle niece. Great.
But then the sex tape comes out. At the time, and this was like what, 2000 maybe? 2001?
I'm not sure.
Something like that.
I'm not sure. I'm not good with the dates, so I'm not sure.
Okay. The sex tape comes out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, first you were hearing rumblings like, oh, there's R. Kelly with an underage girl, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day, you know, I was living in Oakland. I go to the swap meet, and here they all are for sale.
Right.
You know, right there on the ground
right.
for anyone to purchase. And, you know, we all saw the tape because you wanted to see if it was R. Kelly, first and foremost. Because it's like, okay, well, maybe it's just a guy that looks like R. Kelly. But you watch the tape and like, oh, shit, that's definitely R. Kelly.
Right.
Did you guys see the tape?
I never saw it. I saw clips online.
I saw some clips. Okay.
I was trying to buy it, wouldn't nobody let me, so no.
When you saw the clips and you've seen Sparkle's niece, is that the same person?
It looks like it. It looks like it. But if they said in court that it ain't her, I mean, who am I to sit here and say that it's her? It looked like it.
And at that point, I was nowhere around, so I couldn't tell you either or. I've never seen the girl, and I've never seen the tape, so I couldn't say, you know, it was one way or the other. I wasn't around at that point.
Okay, but Dre, you were around,
Mm-hmm.
and you seen the girl, and you seen the tape,
Mm-hmm.
and now this is all out there. How did you feel when you saw all that?
I felt crazy because it's almost like unbelievable. And at that point, I mean, you asking yourself, and you know, and I'm gonna really be honest, even the people around, I don't want to call it an unspoken thing, but I don't think nobody bought into it for some reason. And I don't know, was that based off his manipulation and how he did stuff? Because he act like nothing was happening. So at the end of the day, you like, okay, well, did something happen? I mean, it looked like him and it looks like her, but he's steadily saying, no, it's not me. So it's like, you know, it becomes weird, man. I mean, I guess that's the best way I could say it. Weird.
Well, let me say this. I remember seeing an interview with the journalist that actually got the tape in the mail originally, and he had been following R. Kelly like his whole career. R. Kelly even mentioned him in that song, you know,
Really?
that 20-minute song. Yeah. I admit.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that area in the house with the wood panels,
Mm-hmm.
where the tape was shot,
Mm-hmm.
that he said that was definitely R. Kelly's house, because when R. Kelly moved out, the cameras were still there. He had installed the cameras in the room. Had you ever been to that part of the house and seen that room?
But that was like a long time ago. I think I have seen that room. I think I have.
So the tape comes out and everything goes crazy. Are you still fucking with R. Kelly at this point?
No, because right when the tape came out, and we were on a tour bus. I forget where we were going. And he said to me, he said, look, I think you should go home because I don't want to put you in a position to lie or tell the truth. So I left. And at that point, I don't think I seen him maybe once or twice in between that time, but not really seen him till after he was acquitted. I think it was probably like the same day or night I came in, and I forgot somebody was driving me or something, and Kels was in a Phantom, and we were like downtown, and I jumped out of that car, jumped into the Phantom, and that was that. But like I said before, man, I was really a bunch in and out. Now, people can do their research. I mean, I Wish video. I Wish remix to the homies that were lost. I was the one that got shot. I was in Fiesta. I was in Contagious with Ronald Isley. So it was times I was there, and then it was times I wasn't there.
Right, because I think you had mentioned when they were doing the Fiesta remix, R. Kelly wasn't there with Jay-Z at the same time.
No. No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, because I guess at that time, Dame Dash was dating Aaliyah, and that kind of caused all types of weird.
No, I mean Jay would just basically travel alone. Every time that I seen him, he met us at some place where Rob used to play basketball at in New York. That's by this lake, and it looked like a bubble. And Jay-Z just one day walked in, and that's the same way he walked into, came to the studio by himself.
Got it. Now, Dre, you said that you've seen Lisa Van Allen around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you said that she was doing crazy stuff.
Yeah, I think this was when she was grown, because around the Home Alone time, if you research this, I wasn't in that video. So this is the time she say she met him. So I think maybe, I don't know how long it was after that, but then I came back around, and then I seen her around. And, she was doing her, she's doing her thing.
Meaning?
I mean, to the point where, dude is,
It's too late.
Dude is very, he wanted his way. So I just tell you one thing. We sitting in the studio, and they got the console thing in the middle, the couches on the back, big board in front. And all of a sudden, she would just walk in with, just some panties on and stand in front of the board and just stand there.
Okay.
So that's the light version of it. She might have a top or whatever on, but just standing there, whatever. And for all of us in there to pretty much view, it was that type of thing.
Okay.
But for some people, they need candles and stuff like that to set a mood. So this is just common practice. It's standard. Come on, that.
It became normal. That's kind of normal.
Okay.
For the lifestyle, that I was
See the
in.
look on his face?
It was normal.
So, Rick, you had separated yourself from R. Kelly a while, for a long time.
Yeah.
But Dre, you were still kind of in the mix and so forth.
Back and forth, yeah.
Back and forth. R. Kelly was found not guilty. And during this whole trial time, he's dropping probably his biggest records. The Chocolate Factory's out, and Step in the Name of Love,
Mm-hmm.
and the Ignition remix, and he's in full swing. Do you reunite with R. Kelly afterwards, or was that pretty much it after the whole trial?
I end up reuniting for a quick second, and because I can't remember the times exactly, I don't know if it was a tour coming up, because I know he would always want me to go on the tours. So I was always doing the tours and the videos at that time, but I just can't remember what happened around that time.
And just as an FYI, there were a couple times that I actually did go back and work with him on some tours. It wasn't a lot, but I want to say maybe twice at the most that I did. But other than that, no, there was nothing. as a group, all four of us on stage. At that point, when we left this public announcement, that was the end of us, the four of us being on stage together. But I did come in and out, and Dre did a whole lot more coming in and out.
So then fast forward to, I guess, 2018. They start filming Surviving R. Kelly. Now, Rick, you actually were interviewed for that documentary.
I believe so. I believe that's what it was. The best way I can put it, and I'm so thankful to God for him holding me the way that he does. When I was contacted about it, I thought to ask, what is the name of it? What is it being called? But I didn't ask. So they said it was a documentary about R. Kelly, Life and Times. Were you there? What happened? So after speaking with them for a while, and I'm assuming they were verifying that I was who I am, and I went into an interview, and I want to say it was about an hour and a half. And the one thing I told them that I would not do is slander him. I can break his neck over what he did to me. I can break his neck over what his management did and how that went. I can go in on him about that all day. But everything else, the allegations and the speculation, my Bible teaches me that, when somebody does this, you turn the other cheek. When somebody does this, you still do what you're supposed to do. But I don't have any of that. I don't have any. I told them that I would not slander him. I told them that I had no information in that. I said, and if that's what you want, I'm not willing to do it. And they said, no, that's fine. Just, we're going to ask you some questions and speak your truth. And that's what happened. So the reason why I believe it didn't get used, now I look back at it from watching it, and I had nothing to contribute to that in that light. So if that's what they used it for, if that's what I was there for, none of my footage is used because there was nothing to contribute towards that.
Okay, and Dre, they never reached out to you for the documentary?
No. I didn't give him his number. I didn't give him his name. At that point, actually, when that was happening, like I said, I didn't realize what it was. And they never asked me, hey, do you communicate with the other members? Can I get their number? They never said that to me.
So then fast forward to 2019, and Surviving R. Kelly comes out. Did you guys watch the entire series?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Absolutely.
From your point of view, as group mates with R. Kelly, spending a lot of personal time with him, everything that you've personally seen, do you feel that Surviving R. Kelly was accurate or very one-sided?
Good.
I would say that it was pretty accurate. Pretty accurate. And I'm gonna say that in terms of most of the women that spoke, those survivors, they, I believe they were telling the truth. And, you got some stories that's kind of like, a little shady, like Dria's stories are a little shady at places, Sparkle's a little shady in places. But as for the girls that were actually young, their stories are valid, I believe. This is just my belief.
So from your point of view, what you saw in Surviving R. Kelly was accurate?
Yeah, for the most part.
For the most part.
For the most part.
When you saw it all laid out like that, how did you guys both feel?
I mean, in terms of like just to hear the stories. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm gonna be really honest. The girls that were older, I didn't quite understand that. Yeah, that part threw me. I'm like, you were in your good right mind, your good sense. So I didn't get that. But the ones that were young, I totally understood that. And with that being the case, I really feel like, at this point, seeing that, I really believe Rob needs to get some help. He needs some help at this point.
Right, because you said that R. Kelly is very talented, but he's also very ill.
Yeah, very, very.
When you see all these girls say that R. Kelly essentially had a cult,
Mm-hmm.
and they had to ask to use the bathroom and ask to eat and stuff like that.
Mm.
From your point of view, do you think that this is accurate, knowing R. Kelly?
In terms of well, put it this way, he wasn't holding nobody hostage. Let's be clear on that. I can't see that. But in terms of him manipulating them, because I believe, they were so young that they just did what he said. I mean, now all of the stuff about this urine and all of that, that was a first for me. You know what I'm saying? I've never heard anything like that. But in terms of him always having a lot of girls around all the time, and they all got along. So it wasn't a strange thing. He's a freaking R&B icon. Yeah.
Let me chime in on.
Well, make it quick.
No. So, what do I think? I think that the controversy that has been surrounding him, my heart goes out to the people that feel the way that they do, that have gone through or going through what they're going through. And whether they're politicians or however the America's looking at it, I feel for them. But have you ever seen somebody go through something that was a celebrity and it was like, say somebody passes and it's too soon to crack a joke because they just passed? This is one of those situations where, do you crack a joke about it? Is it too soon? Is it too early? What I don't hear anybody doing is praying. I don't hear anybody who actually really cares about it. So what do I feel? Regardless of what I feel, what I believe should be happening that isn't happening is that we're not trying to connect. We're not trying to help those people, help him. And, we all have cliques. We all have support staffs and, people grieve in different ways. And I'm interested in us being, even though they consider us the closest to him, for somebody to say that, help everybody. For somebody to say, I'm sorry it happened. I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry that it is the way that it is. I'm sorry that society is looking at you in a negative light. I'm sorry that society is treating you ill or different because you spoke up. I'm sorry that if it actually is true that this happened, but nobody's praying. Nobody's talking about God. Nobody's bringing him into the situation, because that's the reason why we're off so bad, because we've lost religion. We've lost our minds, and everybody wants to be like somebody else. Dre said he's an icon. He really is. He's changed the game tremendously. And I owe him certain things, because without him, I wouldn't have learned a lot of things that I learned when it came to being in the studio, when it came how to formulate a song, when it came to what he does and how he does it and how great he is at it. But that doesn't excuse if any of those things are actually true. It doesn't excuse that. I'm not going to say he's a great guy in every sense of the word. We all have a dark side. However, I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed to give God the glory. I'm not ashamed to say I stand up for what we're supposed to be doing, because everybody's holding them accountable, whether it's true or not, they're holding them accountable. But who's saying, okay, I hold you accountable for it, but let me offer prayers. Let me offer solace. Let me offer this. Nobody's doing that to any of those people. So regardless of what side you're on, nobody's doing that. And that's my problem with all of it. So I blame everybody for not looking to God. I blame everybody for not even trying, because nobody's trying right now. Somebody shouldn't have to pass in order for us to say we should have taken a closer look.
And I want to touch on what you just said.
Can you make it quick?
Yeah. Nobody's doing that or whatever. But the reason why nobody's doing that is because it looks as though these women are trying to capitalize off of it. That's why they're not offering their prayers. That's why nobody's trying to console them and really look at it like, wow, these girls have been hurt. That's why it's not happening. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know.
I hope you got time for an argument, because this is about to happen.
But the way that it looks to me, Vlad, is how do you offer them consultation or anything when it looks like, I'm not for sure, but it looks like they could be capitalizing off the fact of actually up there telling their story. Now, that might not be true, so don't quote me. I don't want anybody getting mad at me. But I'm just saying
We already mad.
that this is why the majority of the world isn't taking it totally serious. Now they're picking apart everybody's story, saying, oh, she's lying, she's lying, she's lying.
But that's what the problem is, because it's being picked apart, because we're still pointing the finger. That's what the problem is. So while you may make that point, that's the reason why we're being selfish. That doesn't mean they don't deserve it. That doesn't mean they don't deserve to be prayed for, deserve to be helped. I'm trying to get past the pointing fingers and just say, okay, where do we go from here? Because how long can we talk about this? Because from what I understand, his sales went up because of the controversy.
Mm-hmm.
Who's being helped with that other than him?
Real quick, Dre, I forgot to talk about this during the one section. Were you on tour with R. Kelly during the Best of Both Worlds with
Nope.
Jay-Z?
Nope.
Okay, you weren't part of that.
Yep,
Okay.
that was one that I missed.
No, that was me, not him.
Oh, you were on tour for Best of Both Worlds.
That's right. I was there.
Okay.
Hold on, let me get my makeup. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
What happened the night when the whole tour fell apart?
Ooh. Can we get a zoom in just on me? I don't want him in this because I don't want to have him have allegations toward. That happened in New York. Madison Square Garden, I'm almost positive that's where it was. And I was in my green room and we were waiting to go on. Now, mind you, I want to say other dates before that, it was the same thing every night. There'd be like maybe a 10-minute video and, Jay-Z was always backstage on point, standing there while the video is rolling. I'd come up. He actually said hello to me. He'd shake my hand and say, how you doing? I'm okay. How are you? Then video would start. And then at some point, they'd come out on stage together. And I was a hype man for the show on Rob's behalf. We got to New York. And again, I come to work. I do my job. I leave. I didn't realize the controversy and the turmoil that was happening behind the scenes. So this night in particular, I'm in my dressing room and I'm waiting for the show to start. I'm going to come out, go up on stage, backstage, shake his hand, say hello, done deal. I heard that Rob was so late and it's like the times got worse. If it was 5 minutes late, then it went from 5 minutes to 20 minutes and then to a half hour and then to an hour. Whereas Jay-Z was sitting there ready, waiting. And, rightfully so. Yeah, you should be pissed that, your counterpart that you built this thing with is not there. Well, that night, somebody had enough of the lateness of all the rest of the stuff that was happening. And the show had already started. They did some things and there's an exit where you go off stage, go change clothes and come back on. Well, at that point I wasn't needed for another 30 minutes. So I went back to my dressing room and there were well-known New York artists in the dressing room where I was just chilling. So I'm sitting in the room, chilling, waiting for my time to come back on. I'm looking at my watch and, somebody's going to come and cue me. Hey, Rick, go back out. And all of a sudden you hear screaming. And it was brought to my attention that Rob had been injured. So they rushed him out. Then they rushed me out to the tour bus and we headed out. Now, he's in his dressing room. He's in the back room. I'm in the front of the tour bus and we're just going. We're racing down the highway trying to get away. Only to find out that he had been pepper sprayed or something like that so that he couldn't go back on stage to finish doing whatever he was doing.
Okay. Well, I had heard, based on these articles, was that the reason why R. Kelly left the stage was he claimed that there was people in the audience with guns pointing at him or something like that?
I don't know anything about that.
You don't know?
I didn't see any of that. And honestly, New York is pretty strict about firearms and things like that, and their policies on getting in with them is pretty nice. So that part, I don't believe. I will honestly say I do not believe that there were people that were guns pointing or waving them or anything like that. Because even backstage, you had to go through security. And I mean like metal detectors and all the rest of that. So no, I can't say that that's true.
Okay. And you don't know anything about R. Kelly actually saying that?
No, I never heard him say that.
Okay. Well, and I guess Ty, who's, Jay-Z's right-hand man, was the one that pepper sprayed R. Kelly.
So I heard.
Right.
I didn't see it. I was in my room. So at that point.
Okay. Well, and then at that point, the whole tour ended.
Yeah.
And I guess it was a huge tour with all these cities, and it was already booked and everything else like that. So it was like a real major catastrophe.
Yes, it was that tour would have been the pinnacle, in my opinion, of hip hop and R&B finally getting together and making some real noise, because respectively, they both do very well on their own. But, the name of it, Best of Both Worlds, they did something incredible that a lot of people had tried on a single. They did it for a full album, and it was dope. So all the cities that they were talking about doing, it was actually allowing me to connect with friends. As a matter of fact, it was allowing me to reconnect with a friend of mine that was the AD for videos that we had done with Classic Concepts from back in the day. And that's how nice it was. I mean, it came full circle. A lot of the people that we had dealt with in production, it was, as far as the production team is concerned, it was all those heavy hitters that knew what they were doing. They knew exactly where to go, angles, everything else from production on stage, video, all those guys that came in, and they all pitched in, and it was going to be a magnificent thing to see.
Yeah. Ultimately, it didn't happen though. And then I think R. Kelly tried to do a Best of Both Worlds with Birdman, which never got released.
Never heard it.
Yeah. It got leaked at one point. It never
No, I mean, no offense. In a matter of speaking, what R. Kelly is to R&B is what you can consider Jay-Z to hip hop. So when they actually teamed up, it was fire. I mean, and like I said, nobody had ever done a complete album. And if they have, it didn't have any real success from both sides of the cultures saying, yeah, let's do it. It didn't. A single here and there, yeah, it was hot, but not an album.
Well, Dre and Rick, man, I appreciate you guys coming down and telling your story. It's a very important story, and you guys had a part in a monumental mark on music. Something that you listen to that first album, like it sounds brand new still. Yeah. You know what I mean? It doesn't sound like a dated album. Maybe a few of the New Jack Swing songs, when I was listening to it before, right. But the actual ballads, the love songs really stand the test of time.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And, appreciate you, the truthfulness and, not just throwing R. Kelly under the bus, right. And actually breaking down what you did see and what you didn't see. And I think that's the important part.
Right. Thank you. But can I say something about that?
Please.
You know how people don't get their just dues until they die? And then they go, oh, it was such a great this. Oh, it was such a blah, blah, blah. Someone mentioned that we had put something out there a long time ago. And I wanna set the record straight. Dre called Earl and myself after we had disbanded, and disbanding for us means, okay, I'm not talking to you right now. I'll call you every 2 years or something like that, see how you're doing, but that's it. Dre called us with an idea. And he said, I'm doing a TV series. And I want to use us as the pilot. I'm shooting it, I'm directing it, I'm this, that, and other. I said, okay, cool. We get together. Dre flies in from Atlanta to Chicago. We get together. At that point, I found places to shoot. I supplied them with sound, supplied them with lighting. And literally, we shoot the pilot. There's a young lady named Neek. And I want to give a special shout out to her because she saw it and spoke on it on her show. And she mentioned that were not on a bandwagon. They didn't just do this because of the Surviving R. Kelly. I look back at paperwork, and I have a receipt for 2015 is when we did this. And it was because of his vision, and he wanted to do his pilot for his TV series that he wanted to do on other artists. And that's what we were doing it for. It wasn't to bash him or hurt anybody's feelings, but it was our version of what happened to us because he felt that somebody might want to hear it. And that's how all this came to be, man. And because people have been so supportive, now, yes, we want to do music again, like we intended on doing before. And now this is just allowing us to do it without the nonsense of you got to get in this person's pocket. You got to make this person feel good. It alleviates all that. So thank you for allowing us to use this platform because that's what it all was based off of. So thank you.
No doubt, man. My pleasure. My pleasure. Well, once again, thank you so much, for sharing your story. And I think it's going to inspire a lot of people out there.
We
Hope so, man.
We hope so.
No doubt. No doubt. Until next time.
God bless you,
Peace.
sir. Thank you, man.